We first came up here because we thought we wanted to get married here. A friend of mine knew the owners. Life went on and we decided that getting married here was way too hard. And so, we went and did all sorts of other things with regards to real estate, and then it came on the market some years later. I remember coming up with my brother and he basically said, "You're insane. This is way too big a job." And I had Spence and Lyda, and Morris was touring with, bands all over the world, and he was right, we would have been insane then. And then many years went by and it was still on the market, which I found kind of ridiculously tempting. So I came back and went through it again and just was struck by the magic. And you never get magic. Magic is really hard to find. Even the best architects cannot just produce magic. It was so breathtaking in the nature of what it was that we couldn't help but be drawn to the notion of being able to bring something like this to where it really could have gone, to her natural conclusion. This house was built from 1952 to 58, and it's in Avalon. There was a whole raft of the beginning of the hippie era that life was about to go into. And certainly the people who originally built this house were quite bohemian. And so it just made sense to honour that. Things like this, the Chameleonda, this is an original that was purchased in Holland. It speaks about this whole house from my point of view in that period. And then I found two beautiful door handles, and they seem to speak about what could have been there if it had ever been there. There are so many intriguing things about the house, from the bow truss that holds up this roof to, 7 metre single skin stone walls. Who does that? And I think that's what captured Rob as well, is the ability to be able to take something that had such spectacular kind of bones and helping her re-emerge as the magnificent thing that she could be.
I was fortunate to be taken here by some clients that wanted to show me what they wanted to do, and I was completely blown away. The condition of the house was not good, but just the way the architecture worked on the site was sensational. They bought the house because they were in love with the spirit and the character and the charm of the place, and I suppose their brief was just to understand that spirit, to understand how the original architect had solved the problems of the site and integrated the building into nature and used the materials he did, which all came from the site. It's always an issue when you alter and add to a near historic house. You want to be inspired by the original and do a variation of that. But that variation needs to be subtle, sympathetic, and in harmony, as if it nearly could have been done at the same time. And I think that's the secret of this sort of new and old mix. The new parts drift off from the main room, step up and around the trees. The more difficult the site, the better the project, the more exciting the solution. Having a client that is passionate about architecture, passionate about interiors, and excited about the journey and wanting a hands-on sort of approach, it actually makes it better. And I think that happened here, definitely.
It's interesting the way idiosyncratic solutions to interiors develop. And one of the first ones was the rock that's in the powder room. And both Rob and I were enchanted with the notion of being able to use it in some way or other. Then we started to excavate for the balance of the build, which is the bedroom and the other bathroom, and discovered that there were more big rocks. In fact, this whole shelf ended at the rock that's in the study. And we took away tons of earth and discovered that there was so much more there. And it became really exciting to actually eat into that rock and have it come into the room and be part of. So there's lots of those moments everywhere. We just had fun. It is very difficult understanding what you're going to achieve when you don't have a built structure to stand in. And I remember standing effectively over here on top of rocks and ladders and boxes and squatting down and going, so this is my bed position. It's an absolute joy. It was difficult to find the people to be able to have the time and the skill set to actually want to play. Early in the piece, we found I guess we call him an artisan at this point, who came and started working with us on the stone. He's the gentleman that did the artwork out on the patio. Even though arguably that was drawn by me, it took someone's skill to be able to understand how to put it together. And, you know, he's the person who also learnt how to do steel to create the handrails that came up. Now, if you'd had a classic craftsman in steel, they would not have produced what those handrails are. And so effectively, I guess it's the purest form of the wabi-sabi concept. It will be what it will be as it moves. And so this house is a kind of classic example of exactly that. We have way more than we could ever have imagined.